things, those will be there. So, with all of that said, we're here today to talk about OneDrive. And listen, in the 2 years that Steepmeadow has been in existence, there's one thing. As much as I personally and Steepmeadow in general, we get excited about a lot of the amazing features that there are in Teams and new things and advanced things. But what I continue to learn, no matter whether the company is a 100,000 person company or a 3 person company, everyone out there, and I'm whether you're in IT or not, and we specialize at not talking to IT people, but to talking as much as we can to the business users. People struggle with, how do I send a file to someone and secure it, and how do I have files that are in the cloud, whatever that is, and how do I see them in File Manager? So today I call this blocking and tackling. This is blocking and tackling on how do we manage files and folders as a business person in our company. Now, we're talking about OneDrive, and I'm going to pull up my browser here. And I guess I was doing a Facebook message. I will stop doing the Facebook thing. And just, when you come into a browser and you log in with your subscription, I'm logged in here, as you can see in the upper right there, and I'm going to zoom in from time to time like this. So, I'm just in a browser and I'm logged in basically up here to office.com. And again, you may have Office, Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, installed on your PC. But one place to start, I think, all the time, to kind of make sure you're aware that what you have, if you log in to a browser, Chrome or Edge, then this shows you what you have as your subscription capabilities in your company. And today we're going to focus on this left nav. There's all of our friends, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, but there's this thing, OneDrive, which has been around for a while. And you can see I'm in my demo area here for OneDrive, and you can see that this is, if I zoom into the bottom here, I want to point out something. There is a classic OneDrive, but when you go in like what I just did, you're in the new version, the reimagination, and we're going to learn what this stuff means on the left. We're seeing right here my files. We're going to understand what some of these choices are that you have to interact with a file. We're going to talk about uploading a file to OneDrive, syncing this down to your file manager. If I go look at file manager here, in a second, when we start looking at OneDrive, this is just file manager. And notice if I go to my OneDrive here and I can choose, there are the same files. These are files that are in OneDrive, and that's what it's shown right here. And then I have these things that are actually in Teams, which is a caveat and something new to what's been going on with OneDrive. But listen, before I dive in the details, I want to paint the big picture. And again, don't hesitate to raise your hand to put something in the chat. You can click on the chat there. I'll say hello to everyone so that you see it on your PC in Teams. Give us a question there. Raise your hand by coming up there and clicking on raise hand. I'll see hands that are raised. Cindy will see things when you raise your hand, and we'll pay attention to when you have a question like that. You have to click it again to unraise your hand. So I will unraise my hand as well. Here's the first point I want to make though, before looking at the details. OneDrive. There's a consumer version of OneDrive that has nothing to do with your relationship at your company, but there's a OneDrive for business that is a 1 terabyte worth of storage for you as a business person at your company. And it's in the cloud. A terabyte, that's 1,000 gigabytes, that's 1,000,000 megabytes. You have 1,000,000 megabytes, okay? And that is, think of it as we grew up with the PC, our C drive. If we come down here and look at our C drive on my PC, here's my C drive. I'll zoom in on this just for a second. That C drive, when we used to, kind of grow up with a C drive, we knew that we had my documents and there was this folder in my PC. But guess what? Your PC, if I go right click my PC and I go look at its properties, It's not a million megabytes. I have 237 gigabytes, and a bunch of these storage on your PC is taken up with the operating system and all kinds of other stuff. And the reason I'm kind of starting here is, to me, I feel like people get tripped up because what is OneDrive analogous to? And what it's analogous to is, this is your My Documents that you're used to being on your C drive. Your OneDrive for Business is a million megabyted sized C drive that's in the cloud that you can access from any device. I'm going to show you in a little bit here. I've got here's my iPhone, and I'll back up a step here just to look. There is an app that I can download on my phone called OneDrive. And if I pop into OneDrive, this is my C drive in the cloud. Here are these files, and I can navigate through them here. But if I'm navigating through here, these same files here are the same files that I see when I go to OneDrive, by coming up here to Office and clicking on OneDrive. These are the same files that I'm seeing right here. I could log into any device and see these if I'm looking from a phone, from a browser. And the idea here, and here's where people start getting tricked up. This is not your network drive, your I'm going to keep talking in business terms. We're not dealing so much today with the OneDrive for consumer. But when people think about OneDrive for business, I find a lot of people sharing files and having files shared to them, but it's confusing about, is this our network file? Is this the file like when we're at work that used to be called the F drive or the L drive or the G drive? That's Teams. That's SharePoint. And that is your analogy of what you grew up with in your corporate environment, where there was a network drive, but yet you also had your PC. And when we start looking at OneDrive today, it's trying to bridge our worlds of our new C drive in the cloud, that are personal to us that we can choose to share or not, with our collaboration area where there's a big F drive in the cloud, which is our Teams. We get to see it all now. When I go to this view here, and I'm in OneDrive, and you can see down the left here, I'm in My Files. When I click on My Files, all of these folders here are on my OneDrive. Now, if here's where everyone gets tied in knots. I feel like if I go to sharing, I could have shared a file, or people could share with me. So again, I'm going to zoom in. I'm in the browser version of OneDrive. There are there's my files, but some of my files I've shared. So if I go shared by me, these are files that at some point, like this book, this Excel spreadsheet, if I click on the three dots, when I look at files shared by me, and if I go look at manage the access, well, what I'm going to find, I might have to zoom out a little bit there on that one. When I go look at this, I can see that I have previously shared out with a link, and I'm going to go through the sharing. Who has access to that particular document? This, you can find out. It's not a guesswork anymore. I know that I have previously sent a link out, that anyone with this link, I could copy it right here and go share it with email, and people would have access to that file. But maybe I've decided, you know what, I don't even remember who I shared that with. I can click on these three dots. I'm going to zoom out again. I can click on those three dots, click on this X right here to remove the link. And if you've ever shared something from OneDrive, you can clean it up and decide, you know what, I don't even remember who I shared that link with, but I'm a little concerned that I don't want someone to mess with my file in my OneDrive if I don't know about it. So I can delete the link. And then I now know that that particular file that I was looking at, which was this one, I think well, it was not there anymore because I removed it from being shared. So I'm going to go a little bit faster here, but I'm in the navigation of OneDrive. When I went down to shared, there's two things. There's things that I've shared to others, and it gets into a rat's nest of all the places and people and things I've shared, but I can figure that out by navigating down. I can always click three dots. Like, I'm going to go check this one right here. I can go to manage access again, and this is showing me that, yes, I've shared that link out in the past, and I can decide to keep doing it or not. Now, shared to you, if I go back up to shared, there are people that have shared with me, and sometimes you forget who shared things with me. And I can start looking down here, and there are 5 folders that have been shared with me by other people. Sometimes it's a person, like here's a folder that Cindy has shared to me. And there are folders shared from all kinds of other people, external people, internal people. Your OneDrive has hooks to things that others have shared to you. Now, I'm going to kind of go into the blocking and tackling some sort of other ways to look at OneDrive, but here in this browser version of OneDrive, I'm just kind of going down the left-hand nav here. I've got my files. I've got the shared files. There is a recycle bin. If you ever delete something in OneDrive, it doesn't get deleted. It goes to your recycle bin. And you can see here, I deleted this one this morning, sometime today, and I could actually come into this and select this thing and restore it because I don't have to go to IT. Your personal C drive slash your OneDrive for business, if you do delete a file or a whole folder, you don't for 90 days, the default, you can go back to your recycle bin and recover something you've deleted. Now, these files, we won't spend as much time here today because this, even though I'm in OneDrive, these files and folders, if I click on Acme, there's these folders that appear. These things called shared libraries are teams, and or secretly it's called SharePoint under the covers. And if I, even though I'm in OneDrive, recently Microsoft is letting me look at files that are in the shared, think of it as your F drive in the cloud. I can look at those without navigating away from OneDrive. In fact, I can go look at these files in Acme without even going to Teams, but I can come down in here to the general channel, and here are a set of files that, like, and I'm going to focus a lot on this Word document right here called Acme. I could basically get to this file by navigating here in OneDrive, and there it is. So we're going to spend time with the basics of what happens in your OneDrive for business. Again, your C drive, your million megabytes in the cloud that you have personally from business, and showing the blocking and tackling of sharing those files. How do you share them securely? Some new things that Microsoft is doing. How do you identify who's using that file? And some other features. How do you get those files on your C drive, physically on your C drive? And by that, what I mean, if I go down here to my file manager, and when I go to file manager, again, I mentioned this a minute ago, you have the ability to sync your OneDrive. There is my OneDrive. These are the same files that we saw from the browser, but as I come down and look at these are sitting on my right here. These are in my OneDrive, but they're also physically on my computer if I want them to be. We're going to learn what these symbols are. If I come up to the top here, and I'll pull this together to make it a little bit more understandable. So right here, I'm in OneDrive on my, but excuse me, I'm on File Manager, but I can see statuses of files from that are sitting on my PC. So I'm going to come back to that and describe that here as a main focus of today as well. Let me see if there's any questions. We're already halfway in it. These things go so fast, but I'm trying to go methodical. I'm trying to go intentional. Any questions or comments back up to this point? I think while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and give you the first question to get you interacting here a little bit. This will help me kind of know how much faster or slower to go. You should see a little questionnaire, it's a forms quick poll. I'm just trying to look for your level of experience with OneDrive in particular. Never used it before, you're a beginner. And again, I'm not talking about OneDrive for consumer, although it's similar. Give me a little feedback on that. And that's just, you won't see the results on that. That's just for my benefit. Um, all right. You know, it's coming up, FYI. And you guys see me looking at the answers right here because I'm sharing my screen. We're coming up almost where the average person here is average. And I got a few above average folks. I'm going to have to go find out who they are. And I'm going to have them start helping me describe all this stuff. Uh, but no, listen, that's good to see. Any questions out there that I'm missing, Cindy?
I'm not seeing anything right now, Steve.
All right. All right, well let me come back to the really I was trying to give some I hope it wasn't too philosophical, but I wanted to set the stage on what's OneDrive for business, what are when I go back to my browser view, what are these shared libraries? But let's go back to my files in my OneDrive and I'm going to come down and kind of start focusing in on a particular file. So, I'm going to come down to this document file right here called document.doc, and you can see this file. It was created on December the 20th. I'm going to just actually open it up from OneDrive, which is one thing you can see, and you can see it's just a test file. I'm going to say, actually, I'll show you one little trick in here if I can get away with it. I where is it, Steve? Oh, there it is. So I'm a terrible typer, so I'm trying to learn how to just use. Oops, I got to allow this. It'll work a little bit. So I'm just using the nice speech to text that Microsoft. Try that again. Hey, I'm trying to type something, which is now taking longer because I wasn't ready for that. Listen, I never use my typewriter anymore because if you notice in Word and Excel and PowerPoint, if you find that little dictate button, it lets you kind of create the beginning of your sentences that you're trying to craft in an email or in a Word document. And then I press it again to turn it off. So, and by the way, when you're in OneDrive and in the browser version of Word, it's already saved. I don't have to go to File Save. I can actually just now close this tab right here. And all I'm trying to show you is that Word document that was here. If I was to refresh this screen, we're going to see that that document file is going to show a new date because I just changed it, the most up-to-date date right here. So there it is. It was just changed a few seconds ago. Now we want to focus in on this file. It's in our magical C drive in the cloud. I'm looking at it from the cloud. I'm going to zoom in just a tiny bit. I want to select it and I want to show you the things. Anytime in Microsoft you see these three dots, I would encourage you to click them. It's always going to pop up a menu. Now you can see when I pick that document file, I can now open it but in the browser or in the desktop version of Word, or I could have just clicked over here right on top of it. But from this menu, I have a lot of other views or options, including manage access, which I'll come back to. But one that I want to start off with is the version history. So we won't cover every one of these. I mean, some are obvious, but version history, if I click on version history, this file that we just edited, you can see that version 3.0 was created by me just a couple of seconds ago. But version 2.0 and 1.0 were created respectively way back December the 7th in 2020. These are something that OneDrive and Teams do automatically for you is they create versions of the files from the past. And you can delete an old version, you can open the old version, or you could make the old version of the file your primary one. So the thing that a lot of people don't realize is it's okay if you accidentally delete something or someone did a lot of changes and you wanted to go back. You don't have to rename this file document with my initials or document V1 or document V2. Those days should be over if you let the system do what it can do. Now, we're going to go to sharing next because we've got about 7, 8 minutes left. And when I'm here, I've got that file selected. This is our document, Word document. I'm clicking on the share button and it's saying, hey, do you want to share this? And you get all these choices. The first thing I want to show you though is the three dots. I'm going to zoom back in here. So I get all these choices. I've clicked on share. The three dots, when I hover and then I come over that and then click on it, it is manage the access of that one file. And when I click on it, you can see that it's giving me options of how do I want to share this. And right now, there are no sharing links out there. But let's say that I do want to share this. So I'm going to come back a step. I'm going to come back to this file to the sharing. I was just double checking who's been shared already. Now, you know what? I don't really like the idea of sharing the link with anyone. And as you can see, I kind of backed up. When I clicked in on that, I can choose to share it with specific people instead. And that means that these people that I share this with will get an email saying this has been shared with you, and this link will work after they confirm their email address. Because if I now, maybe I don't want them to edit it. Maybe I just want, maybe I don't even want them to download it. So I have all these choices. We can go into these, and then we'll provide additional kind of pointers to the other info in there. But if I apply this set of choices, and now I can add someone here, and that is not going to cut it, Steve. So I'm going to add, I know Perry's on here. I'm going to pretend I'm sharing this to Perry at DJNA, and I'm going to share him this file. Look, it's telling me you're sharing this link to this Word document to Perry. I just added his email. It's telling me, hey, he's outside your organization. Well, good. I wanted to know that. And I'm going to now say, all right, that's fine and dandy. I've got Perry configured with this link that I added the permissions to where he can only view it. I could type a message and click send and it would send to him. This is like a little mini email, but instead I'm going to click on copy the link, and I'm going to back out of this, and I'm going to go to my, whoops, I'm going to go to my email here. I'm going to my, I'm in my Outlook. I know you can't see it. I'm going to zoom in a second, and I'm going to zoom in here now. I'm in Outlook. I've got a new email open. I'm going to type Perry because I'm sending this file to Perry. Starting to type his name there. I could say, hey, check this out. And then I'm going to come down here because I copied that link. So I'm going to say, here is the doc, and I'm going to control V it. And notice it actually, usually it puts a hyperlink in there that's very ugly to look at. Well, now Microsoft automatically changes the link that Perry would see in the email back to the name of the document, which was very unimaginatively named document. Now, what if I add someone else up here? Let's say I add Stuart Dupuis here, and he's from a different organization. But notice, do you see that the link changed colors when I added Stuart? If I take Stuart off, the link goes back to blue. If I put Stuart back in here, and the reason it's changing those colors is when I put Stuart in here, he's not been associated with the link that I just created. But notice what Microsoft is going to let me do. I can click on it right here from Outlook. I clicked on that red warning symbol. It's telling me what's going on. You're about to send an email, and when Stuart clicks on that link, it's not going to work. So I'm getting some coaching from my little buddy in Outlook. Now I could click on Manage Access, and it's giving me these choices saying, hey, right now there's Perry. We know that Perry was given specific, guidance that he doesn't have editing. He doesn't, he has, he can't download it, but he can look at it. But do I want Stuart to have the same capabilities? And I do. So I'm going to pick recipients of this message, and I'm going to apply that. And when I come back now to the email, what should have happened is did that. And then if I sent that email, both Perry and Stuart should now have access to it. But something went haywire. Are there any questions? And I'm going to let you guys go. I'll hang around for a couple minutes in case anyone wants to stay. But this was our first attempt to do kind of a joint friends and family, customers, and invited guests training. We'll do more of these on a lot of topics, and we're going to try to do them. We want to make them more interactive, but we want to not do them long, so we want to do them slow but sure. So we may do a whole series on OneDrive, and we'll start polling you guys. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams meetings, all of those kinds of topics. But I appreciate everyone joining. I know it's 5 o'clock in Texas right now. Y'all have a great rest of your day, and thanks for joining us today for this, and we look forward to your feedback. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it.